If there's one thing we can't deny, it's the fact that over time this game have evolved, or at least it should happen. Except that every day that the game industry goes by just shows that games aren't actually evolving as much as we think, and they kind of aren't more games than if the ones that were made in the old days. Let's take into account the main game that was a total failure in the world of games, Cyberpunk, and let's compare it to other games here, and you will see that the old games have much more to deliver than this current one. For example, one of the things we know is that Cyberpunk takes place in a totally futuristic world, lots of technology and developed world until it gets to the point where the car doesn't break under any circumstance. The car doesn't break, it doesn't need. It seems to be made of cardboard. The movement is horrible and it gets even worse if we compare with the game Red Faction Guerrilla. In it you can destroy everything, and everything that is destroyed affects both objects and people. The constructions, everything could be affected if a massive thing broke. But the reason why they don't do it is simply that this feature is quite heavy, overloads a lot the computer processor, as if this here did not weigh in your computer. The game doesn't present a history, or if you want anything decent, it's a true quality merely doubtful, not to mention something heavier. Think to me, Anti-Dragon's Dogma Dark Rise has a much better proposal, even being a game extremely different from the others, just being a total crazy RPG. It's effective in the history and it doesn't exaggerate at all. Already Cyberpunk brings a total exaggerated world and cannot do anything good with what it has, and it is simply content to use extremely lame excuses like the world is evolved. That must be why when some car stops in front of a pedestrian it never does anything. But since we have taken the main game of today, let's bring to this video the main game of the old generation, Grand Theft Auto. Look at the difference. Of the problem of this in itself is that it only shows that more and more games are becoming interactive moves, where the end will always be the same for all players as long as you move to the next stage and read. There are several games that explore it better. Old games like the 2010 Heavy Rain itself. In it you control the action of the protagonist and each influence action being positive or negative. Cause several alternate ends and cause you to pay attention to every detail. Example is the day you go out with your son to the square, and after he disappears you go to the police station and you have to say what time it was at the time you were in the square and what was the clothes your son was wearing, and this you would help a lot in the rest of the game. This weird choice that helped define history, different from things today. The only thing that prevails and is worth Cyberpunk are the graphics, but it is just that. The rest is bad. Gameplay. This from here is perfect gameplay within the proposal of the game. This is excellent gameplay. But this here is disappointing. This works for Hell in Portal, where you play with a different strategy. You have to reason to pass the level. The game forces the player to have to think outside the box. You can't stay in the basket. This is what makes a gameplay be differentiated, makes a ratio of game more interesting to the public. And we can still mention Battlefield 3, a game that revolutionized the world of games at the time. What was immersion in history? You have to work as a team to win and do everything to achieve the goal. And not this thing here that looks like it was done with its axe. Shadow of the Colossus and Resident Evil 4, two games that bring several experience and which by the way has much less bugs than Cyberpunk, with strike scenes such as the death of your horse in Shadow of the Colossus, or as the battle against Krause in Resident Evil 4. That knife fight is very differentiated, and for those who know the history of both, we know that they were companions in a mission long before. They start the battle and there is a lot of dialogue and understand the motivations of both. Or that scene of Leon deflection lasers in the hallway and the right affect the deflection of the lasers. He sits down and shows why he is the guy. No, I ask myself, what scene like this exists in Cyberpunk? And here comes the horseman of the apocalypse to defend Cyberpunk talking like this. Oh, except for the bugs, the game is good. Friend, if there's a bug already bad, as if this argument is applied there. It's like you talk like this, except for what's horrible, the rest is good. Whoa. While games like Hearthstone focus on bringing a story around and that each thing fits and goes connection, while Cyberpunk and many other games of the current generation focus on just following a line. Portal is a game that doesn't have a simple history, but works in simplicity, with few things in a different purpose or common result. One of the most brilliant puzzles I have ever seen. The purpose of this video is not to compare the games themselves, incredible as it may seem, and not to mention that your current games are bad, but rather to say that some games nowadays have less to present than some games more than 10 years ago. What seems to be missions in the games nowadays is essence. It seems that they only care about 4K graphics and money instead of trying to do something new or different, and this is disappointing.